Hi, thanks for tuning into the Better Ideas podcast. My name is Dakota Pike. This is a podcast where I talk to creative and interesting people who inspire me to want to learn about them and in turn share that with you. And I'd like to just give a shout out to people who have given me positive feedback, sent me messages, liked stuff, shared stuff, and just any support that I've got up until this point. I'm probably going to start sounding like a broken record with that at some point, but I just can't stress enough how much positivity you guys are bringing to my life. I've, like my friend Thomas from high school sent me a message and said that he had been listening. So it's just really cool to see that that people are receiving it and that they're enjoying it. So I thank you guys for that, and keep up the good work, because if you don't, then doing this would be pretty pointless. I'd like to also apologize up front for my dog / co-host / security guard who likes to make guest appearances on the show every now and then. I live with a wolf, so he's part of my life. That makes him pretty much part of the podcast. So I apologize if you hear a dog breathing or bumping into stuff or whatever. I mean, he doesn't really follow the rules, so there's not much I can do about that. So yeah, I just accept it. So I hope you guys do too. But also, episode 10 is coming up, and for me, that's a pretty big milestone, because I actually heard several other podcasters. I've heard this over and over again, and I can't find the article that actually says it, but I've heard from several different sources that I trust that most podcasts apparently don't make it to episode 10. A lot of them start and fail, and they give up, and they just aren't able to gain that momentum, I guess. And I mean, I can understand how that could be a problem if you run out of content or run out of inspiration or something like that. But I got a feeling I'm not anywhere close to doing that. So I'd like to make this milestone a pretty cool one. And I've been talking to a few people, and I've got some stuff in the works to, I don't know if I should say it. Well, okay. I don't know if I'm going to pull this off, so don't hold me to it 100%, but I'm going to try to get all of Sweet Ascent on for episode 10. If I can't get it for episode 10, I guarantee I will get it in a later episode, but I'm going to try to work it out in the near future so that I can have it within the next episode or two. And I'd like to have you guys maybe tweet me or send me some fan questions or whatever, but I think it'd be cool to have all four of the guys from Sweet Ascent in at the same time and have them just tell all kinds of crazy tour stories and just hang out and have some fun and do a little bit of a party episode to celebrate the milestone of episode 10. So yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that. It should be a cool one. But in the meantime, I'm going to be airing a conversation with a man named Josh Hurst, who is an incredibly talented musician from Kansas City who is in a band called Young Medicine. And Young Medicine is a band that I love seeing bands like this all over town, because they contribute not only to their band, because they're all really talented guys who know a lot about the industry and what all goes into being in a band, but not only do they do that, but their guitarist is a graphic designer who does a ton of work for stuff in the scene. Their lead singer owns a recording studio, and he's recorded a tons of bands in the scene. So they're contributing to the music scene in a really, really big way. And they're making really good music, and they're making really good art in the meantime. So I felt like it was only a matter of time before Josh and I sat down and had this conversation. So I hope you guys really enjoy it.
I wasn't expecting it at all. It was pretty cool.
Yeah. And there's no rules to it. It's such a cool medium to be able to do. But all right, so I guess we can just start with the beginning of how you got into music.
Oh man. I mean, I'm pretty sure like most musicians would say this, but my parents were into music and stuff, and my dad more so than my mom. He was a folk musician back in the day. Like, my parents are pretty old.
Okay.
Mid-60s, and my dad was part of the big like hippie movement protesting Vietnam, and
yeah,
as soon as he graduated from high school, he was in college, and then ended up dropping out just to tour as a folk musician for a few years.
That's cool. So he had like a band and
I think it was just solo folk, him and an acoustic guitar.
Oh, that's cool. Very cool.
But he did quite a bit of touring for a few years before he went back to school and got into law school and stuff. And growing up, he'd always play the guitar for me. And I think the first instrument he ever bought me was a bass, and I think his plan was to get me to be the bass player so he could play guitar.
Makes sense.
I ended up never playing it. It just kind of sat in the corner.
You're like,
Yeah.
you play guitar and you bought me a bass.
Exactly.
I wonder why. Yeah. That totally makes sense.
The first instrument I ever really...
Hey.
Oh, man. He's stealing this interview, dog.
Yeah, Jax is trying to barge in. He's just got to get used to you.
I'm down.
Way to go, Jax.
I don't have a dog at my house, so it's nice to have one around.
Oh, yeah. He's cool for a while. But yeah, so you got into it with your dad.
Yeah.
That's kind of who introduced you early on. So did he like teach you how to play guitar?
He actually didn't. My first instrument I learned how to play was piano.
Oh,
And that's where I learned all my basic music theory and just songwriting. That's when I started kind of doodling out melodies. And when I was younger, basically all I listened to was movie soundtracks. I was huge into like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings.
Oh, that's cool.
And I know everyone says they're a nerd in elementary school, but I had Harry. I don't know if you've seen it on Facebook. I have pictures of me when I was little, and I'd wear like Harry Potter shirts. I had the Lord of the Rings One Ring, like, the official one, and I'd wear it
So
to
you're
school.
like a certified
My
nerd.
glasses were the actual Harry Potter glasses.
Dude, that's
And
awesome.
I wanted to learn how to play piano because I wanted to learn how to play the Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings themes on the piano.
That's awesome. Actually, the old guitarist in my band is kind of like that, except with Zelda. He loved playing like all this theme songs from Zelda on guitar.
Brett does that, except on piano. He knows all the Zelda themes.
That's cool. Cool. Okay, so you got into music from your dad. So then how old were you, I guess, when you started playing piano?
Probably like first grade, second grade. And I took lessons and I hated it. I'm glad that I did it because it gave me a basic understanding more than I would have got at like music class in school, like in elementary school, the required ones. But I hated homework just like any kid does with regular school, but except now you're being forced to like do lessons in a subject that I thought was going to be just fun, you know?
Yeah, I feel like so many people, they start out with piano lessons and never make it through it, and then like pick up music a little bit later. I did pretty much the exact same thing. So
You started with piano too?
I didn't start with piano. I actually started with drums. And I went to school in McLouth, which you probably also know where that is. The tiny towns around here. And I was the only percussionist that like tried out. So
it's not hard to be the only thing at a small school.
yeah. There was like 30 people in the class. So,
there you go.
Yeah. So yeah, I started out doing drums and then eventually started playing guitar and stuff later. But yeah, drums was the first thing. Piano came a little bit later because my grandma was a piano teacher, and she just kind of gave me a book and got me started on it. And I didn't study it as much as I should have. So I'm not great at piano. I'm not even great at like chords. I can kind of just figure it out, you know, like I can fiddle around. But
that's me. The extent of the theory I really remember is just I can read the staff, and I know basic like keys and stuff, and I know what all the rests are and things like that. But when it comes to like chord theory, stuff like that, Brett, he and I write all of Young Medicine's music. He'll tell you that I'm pretty illiterate.
Yeah, when it comes to I'm pretty much the same way. I could sit there and spell it out over time, but I'm not gonna be able to like sit down and read along to anything like that.
Basically, you do it by ear.
Yeah, pretty much. So when did it turn into guitar then? When did you transition?
8th grade. This girl, my first long-term girlfriend, I started dating her in 8th grade, and she was all about band dudes. Like the same time that I started getting into kind of Warped Tour-ish music. And then 9th grade, she dumped me for some dude in some metal band in Lawrence, and he played guitar. And I was like, fuck this, I'm going to learn how to play guitar.
Nice.
Turns out he actually played bass, so I got screwed out of that anyways.
You should listen to your dad. That's awesome. So you said 8th grade, 9th grade?
Ninth grade's when I started, like the end of ninth grade's when I started learning guitar.
Okay. So I'm assuming you like started a band sometime in high school.
Oh, man,
That's when
I
you and
tried.
Brett.
I tried starting a band several times in high school. I was awful at guitar. My friend Dusty was pretty good at guitar, and we would jam a few times. Found a bass player, and I think we had one official practice, and we tried to play this Alisana cover.
Nice.
And that was kind of an awful practice, and that's...
First and last?
Yeah, exactly.
Nice. Okay, so then when did Young Medicine start? Was that after high school for you?
Young Medicine is like a newer iteration of an older band that Brett was in. Bella Muerte, yeah.
Bella Muerte, okay. I feel like I'm pretty sure I'd heard of you guys then.
Yeah, it was around for a while. Like Brett and I have been playing music together for almost 9 years now, probably.
Dang.
Yeah.
So you guys go way back then.
Yeah.
Since probably before high school even?
No, I met Brett the day I tried out for Bella Muerte.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Brett had been playing music with Bella Muerte's original guitar player, like just he on keyboards and the other guy on guitar, and then our old drummer Mace and the bass player. He's in a band called Get Busy Living now.
Okay, yeah, I played a show with them before. They were awesome. All the big like bodybuilder dudes.
Yep.
Yeah,
that was
awesome.
Chase. Yeah, they were playing music together, and I'll probably get corrected later. I don't know if this is right or wrong. And then they both met up and they all started playing music together as 4 people. And then they were auditioning for another guitarist, and I found them / they found me on some like find a musician type Craigslist site. I sent them a demo that I recorded with an awful USB mic. It was the worst sounding thing ever. And I know Brett has it saved on his computer still. It's called Skills Sample. And it just sounds like static with like metal guitar riffs coming through it.
Oh, man.
And they brought me up, and that was summer of 2009 to audition. And man, I can't imagine how bad all the other auditions must have been for them to actually choose me based off that.
Yeah.
And then that was Bella Muerte. And then when Bella Muerte was about to fizzle out in, I think it was like 2014, Brett and I decided, like, no one else was really about it, like the band life anymore. We were like, maybe we should try rebranding and like pushing through with kind of a new sound and new direction, because we weren't ready to give up on it. And that's when we started Young Medicine.
So was that just you and Brett at that time?
It was.
Did it get down to 2 people?
It was actually all of the members of Bella Muerte at the time, like when it ended, were part of the rebrand, like the new Young Medicine. And then the bassist left like very shortly after. And then the drummer got replaced last year.
Okay,
So-
and you have who's drumming for you now?
Michael McAvoy from he was in She Sees Ghost. I mean, he's still in She Sees Ghost, but he drums with us now as well.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, so then you get in Young Medicine, you guys do the rebrand and all that. And so at this point, had you already been like doing all of your own stuff? Were you guys DIY then too?
Yeah, we've always been DIY. The only difference is it was really awful back then. It's gotten steadily better.
Yeah.
That's basically it, because we were always super proud of doing everything ourselves, and all the recordings always been like us doing it. Well, Brett, and then me critiquing it and telling him it needs work, even though I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But
everyone needs that guy.
exactly. Well, I've been trying really hard to keep up to date on all the like recording techniques and terminology, and I follow all the same recording forums he does. And
So you've been like kind of learning as you go.
yeah,
Also,
I couldn't do what he does, but I can tell when things are wrong in a mix. Maybe not to the degree he can, but enough that it helps him when he has ear fatigue or has been listening to something way too many times and needs a second set of ears. I'm always there to tell him like
cool
what might need a change.
So is that like kind of your guys' writing process too, where you guys like work together and just critique each other's stuff until it's something you both like?
I don't know if all of his start on the computer, but both of us write on a computer pretty much primarily. I know I play guitar, but I never start with a guitar riff. I usually start in a program called Reason, and I'll start
Okay.
with a chord progression or a melodic hook, and then build drums after that, and then build everything else around that. And I know Brett writes a lot in Reason too, so we'll send ideas back and forth.
So does he save like lyrics and melodies and stuff till the very end before he writes? Do you know?
Brett,
So you guys like you write pretty much a full like song and then bring it to him.
yeah, we'll either write full songs or big chunks of songs. Like I know recently one of the ones we did, I wrote choruses and instrumentals for the verse and gave it to Brett because I hit a dead end, and he wrote lyrics for the verse and then fleshed out the rest of the song after that.
Oh, okay. Cool.
So, and he'll do the same for me, like send me something if he's hitting a dead end with it, and I'll kind of flesh it out or change it up a little bit.
I like doing that. I've been you saw I have GarageBand. That's
Yeah.
I mean, it's been getting me by a little.
No, Garage,
thus far.
they all
doing
do
right.
the same thing. It's all about workflow, you know? What
Yeah,
you
yeah.
prefer.
And I've been actually doing that a lot lately. I'm kind of new to it, but I've been writing just mainly on the computer. But I will usually start out with like a chord progression or a guitar lick or riff or something, and then I'll just kind of like build from the ground up. But since I play a little bit of everything too,
Yeah.
so I'll sometimes I'll start out with like a drum idea, or sometimes it's a bass, or like just like one little thing, and then just kind of builds.
Drums
from
are
there.
drums are a great thing to build from. That's like probably my favorite thing to write is drum parts, even though I've never played drums in my life.
Yeah,
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, it is really fun. I didn't know that you could actually program a little bit on GarageBand until like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, it has
And-
full MIDI roll, doesn't it? Like you can program out.
Yeah, yeah, and I had no idea until I was I put in the little smart drummer one time, and then I hit record on accident, or just I think the R, and it was like, oh, you can't record on this. Create a new track, and it creates a new track. And then that little MIDI thing pops up where you can sample in all the drums. I still don't know how to do it the right way. I just make the drum track and then hit record and tell it, have it force me to put
Whatever
a different
gets you
track
there.
in. Yeah, it works. But I've been messing with that constantly. So it's pretty cool to be able to just like sit at a computer and write a whole song. I feel like that's
It's
a thing of the
amazing.
future.
No,
for
I
sure.
love it, and I feel that it makes everything way more cohesive when you can see every piece of it in front of you.
And with drums especially, like if you start with something like really clean, you know, and like perfectly on time and things like that, I just feel like it makes the writing process almost a little quicker.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's like you're not having to work with people or like with you know, like just a crappy drum sample that's out
Exactly.
of time and stuff like that, and you can kind of build on a really solid foundation. So
Yep.
I really enjoy doing that.
Honestly, up until a few months ago, everything we've ever released, except for a few demos right when we started, has all been programmed drums.
So do you guys sample in real drums nowadays, or is it still a lot of programming?
now we're recording live drums for this like the new stuff we're working on. We're working on an album now that hasn't actually been announced that we're working on it yet, but
Okay.
that's actually coming in the next few days, hopefully.
Cool.
I just
cool.
need to finish the video and
Well, if you want to actually tell me what day it is, I can drop this like. That day
it'll
or
probably be
whatever.
like Wednesday or something.
Okay.
Like,
Cool.
or
Hey.
maybe Thursday. I don't know. Someday this week.
Cool. Cool. All right. So you're in Young Medicine. You guys start doing everything DIY. So like you do graphics, video. What all do you do specifically? In the band?
So I handle basically all of our branding, which would be all the graphics, just any sort of visual representation of us online or
That's cool.
in print, though that's usually not a thing. Just to make sure that the aesthetic that's presented to everyone matches what we feel it should be, I guess, matches the music. So video, any sort of advertisements, I mean,
That's
basically
cool.
anything visual, anything
cool.
visual is me.
Cool. So you're the one who makes those really cool profile pictures that are like
Yep.
videos. That's sick. So do you use the same video editing software for everything, or?
I use Premiere Pro and then After Effects, so the Adobe suite.
Okay.
I also use
cool.
Illustrator and Photoshop, so all of those in conjunction. And then I have a lot of different plugins that I work with inside of that, but for the most part, just those programs.
How'd you get into all that stuff?
I originally wanted to be a filmmaker when I was younger before I got sucked into the music thing.
Okay, cool.
And
So did you start doing that before you started playing music, or like start messing around with cameras and stuff like that?
kind of not the actual behind the camera stuff, but I wanted to get into directing, so I ended up doing about a year's worth of film classes at KU before I actually moved up to Kansas City to be in Young Medicine, and I got a graphic design internship at a production company up there, and I was like, man, this is close enough to video, and I mean, it's visual art, and they said there'd be some video stuff involved.
Yeah.
So I ended up taking that on and like kind of learning on the job while at the same time going to school part-time for graphic design up there. And then, so a combination of just trial by fire and going to school for it.
Okay, so you went to school in KC?
At Johnson County.
Okay,
Yeah.
JUCO. Cool. So you were, I'm assuming, a graphic arts major?
Graphic design.
Graphic design. Okay, cool. And then so that landed you the gig with that production company?
Well,
later?
actually, they ended up bringing me on full time before I even got maybe a year and a half into the program there. They just liked my work, and I think
cool.
I think part of it was because I was easy to work with.
That's really cool,
And
though.
it's a super high stress kind of environment since it's production. I mean,
It's
people
all
running
live, right?
shows and
Yeah.
concerts and stuff like that. And
Yeah. So it's all like decisions that you have to make like in the moment, I'm
Yeah,
assuming.
a lot of that.
Yeah, that's cool though. So, I mean, what's that like working for a big production company? Like what do you do?
Oh man, all sorts of stuff. I work in kind of a sister company inside of the production company called Collateral Media. It's like a little corner of DSS. DSS does like staging, lighting, video, all that sorts of stuff, and
Okay. So that's like
that's the big company. And I officially work for them, but a lot of the work I do is in Collateral, which is like designing and printing banners, stickers, case labels, designing video content for LED walls that play behind the stage and stuff like that.
okay. So like the advertisements and things like that, or is it?
Like actual video content behind the bands, like the cool stuff you see on stage.
Oh, really?
On those giant video walls, yeah.
Cool. Okay, so those big things, those screens are just like they're just big LED screens, right?
Yeah,
Or-
it's
I've always wondered how that stuff works.
They're made out of a ton of different tiles, and the tiles are usually like 1.5 feet by 1.5 feet, and they all link together. And then you have these programs and like hardware you use to run the video files through them.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
So do you have to program every little one, or do they all just like hook up together?
I give them
somehow?
they give me dimensions, and I give them like a video file, and then they run it through these encoders and stuff that put them up there, basically.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I don't luckily have to plan for a ton of like different shapes and stuff. They figure that out on their end.
Yeah. So do you make graphics for them too?
Mm-hmm.
And like graphics that go up on the screens, or
Like a printed graphic?
just like any graphic, I guess.
Or like the video itself that goes on the screens?
either one. I don't know.
Both, yeah.
You do both?
Yeah.
I could hardly tell the difference, but that's cool. I just went to Green Day in Omaha not that long ago, and they had like some of the coolest like screen work stuff
Oh,
I've
I'm
ever
sure.
seen. Like halfway through the set, or not even halfway, like it felt like there was 4 parts, because then like every section the screen would be a completely different like design and layout.
That's
and it just
awesome.
like it made it feel like it went through just like segments, like through like waves.
Man, it's
in
the
show.
standard now. Like for any show over a certain size, they will have LED screens basically now.
Yeah.
It's like the thing.
Yeah. So do you work on like a lot of shows with pyrotechnics too, or?
We do shows with pyro there.
Yeah.
I never actually work at the show itself. I do everything in house.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
get
You're
sent out on
setting everything
shows.
up.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm at a desk, and they'll call me from the show if they need something done, and I'll drive back to the office and change the video on my computer and send it to them, and they'll call me and say thank you.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How long have you been working for them? Or
This-
have you been
for
doing that?
exactly as long as I've been in Bella Muerte, basically.
Oh, okay.
So about 8.5, 9 years.
Okay. Dang. So it's going good then.
Yep. Our old drummer Mace, when he convinced me to not go to KU and to come up and do the band full time, because if I moved up was the only way I could be serious about it. He ended up getting me an internship at DSS. He was the one that got me the internship
Oh,
there.
okay.
And then that turned into the job.
Your drummer?
Our old drummer, yeah.
Old drummer.
Yeah.
Okay. And does he still works there? Or?
Yeah, he still works there.
Oh, cool. Cool.
He's I don't even know what his job title is now, but yeah.
So
He does a bunch of things.
So you do all the visual and everything, and Brett, right, the lead singer, he does all of the recording and audio,
all the audio
and
stuff,
production, things like that.
Yep.
What are the other guys' roles, or are you guys kind of like the foundation guys that organize?
We are kind of the backbone of it, but we would love to delegate more stuff to them.
Yeah.
Michael's
That makes
still
sense.
pretty new, so he's really good at talking to people. I know that much. And on tour, he was really good about like helping settle up and like talking to fans and stuff like that. And
The ambassador.
Yeah.
Every band needs an ambassador.
and Peter and Brett are good at it too. I mean, none of us are bad at talking to people, but I'm just we haven't really thought a ton about delegation for him or Peter really that much. Because
I feel like some of those things just take time too, to like for everybody just to grow into their roles.
Yeah,
I've seen a lot of bands that figure that out just kind of over time.
I mean, a lot of it is that Brett and I kind of have what we're doing under wraps since we've been doing it for so long. It's like a core songwriting duo. One handles the music, one handles the visuals. What's left? Well, it's the not so fun shit.
Yeah.
Social media management and marketing, which is something that I also like went to school for and like to do and handle myself. So although I want to delegate it to someone, I also don't trust other people with it.
Yeah. I think every artist has trouble giving up creative control over anything like that. But that's cool. So, and Brett
Brett runs the studio full time.
Runs a studio. Did he start it, or is it like, wow, okay, cool.
He went to school for studio engineering, and then he interned at Chapman. Used to be where like one of the biggest. I think it's still one of the biggest ones in Kansas City. And,
yeah, I've heard Chapman.
I mean, it's where Tech-9 and all the Strange people used to record before they built their own place.
Same with didn't Puddle of Mud?
Yeah, I'm sure they did.
Puddle of Mud recorded there.
It's a really nice studio.
Yeah,
I think they're selling it now.
Really?
Or maybe it was like last year or something.
Maybe Brett's running them out of business.
Oh man, I wish. He's constantly busy. Like it's his only job is he runs his studio, Red Roof.
That's really, really cool. So you guys produce like a ton of bands in the scene then.
Like half the bands in this scene were recorded with us, so.
That's cool. So yeah, you guys worked with Zion. And so what other like local names that I might have heard of?
Oh man.
You guys.
It's one of those things where once you get asked the question, you freeze up.
Oh yeah, because the list is vast.
Yeah, just look at the Red Roof Productions page and you'll see them.
I'll check it out.
Ton of bands.
Cool. Have you ever listened to Ludo?
Yeah, Love Me Dead.
Okay, yeah.
Gonna be honest though, that's the only song I know off the top of my head.
Okay, well, I got super into their stuff when I was younger, and they're from like the area.
Really?
Yeah,
I
think like St. Joe or something like that.
Close enough.
Yeah, around here. The lead, Andrew Volpe, the lead singer, his aunt was a teacher at my school.
Tonganoxie?
Yeah, it was weird. She taught like French or something like that. I never had her as a teacher, but yeah. The reason I asked that is because when I listen to your guys' stuff, I just like every now and then I'll be like, whoa, that sounds a little bit like something
synth
that like
Ludo?
Yeah. Well, their older stuff had a lot of like synth type. Yeah, it was. They have a lot of variety just because they have a lot of music in it. They never got one of those bands that probably should have blown up. Just never really did. I guess Love Me Dead was on MTV for a while there.
That song is pretty flawless.
Yeah, there's a lot of songs that they have that are flawless that I feel like are just they're undercredited. But
like I haven't heard that song in probably 2 or 3 years, and I could sing every melody from it.
Yeah, definitely.
That's a good song.
Yeah, I was just wondering if you'd heard of them because every now and then, like I think it's a Living Fiction.
Living Fiction?
Yeah, it just made me think of it. Is that the?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. There's you should listen to. Oh man, there's a Ludo song that has a synth where the chorus is. I think it might be called "Save Our City," or it's off of the Broken Bride album.
You'll have to link
it sounds really similar. Yeah, I'll show you after we get done talking. But Yeah, I thought I heard a little bit of influence. Plus, it could be like just from the local scene, like the sound,
Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know. Brett's pretty sheltered.
Yeah, but if he's recording all these artists, I figured he might be
True.
pulling some influences from, pretty much everywhere in Kansas City or
That could be a thing.
yeah, definitely. So I noticed when I was listening to your guys' music, I downloaded a couple of your songs on iTunes and I noticed that there isn't any like EP or full length. They're all singles, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what's up with that? That seems intentional.
It was.
Because I know you guys could put out a
Yeah.
full length or an EP if you really wanted to.
It was more of a like kind of a marketing thing as far as staying noticed and staying active. Brett always told me the worst thing a band can do for advertising or for marketing is release an album, because you have all this gorgeous content that you're pushing and pushing and pushing, and then it's out and then it's done. But if we spread everything
And then you got
out,
to try to maintain that hype and do the whole 2-year cycle,
Yep,
like all these bands.
exactly.
Okay.
And now it's shorter
See,
than that.
I figured that was strategic.
If you have singles, then you always have something that you can be pushing next. Mm-hmm. So you put out one, and then you should be pushing the next one. We didn't do it the right way. We were wanting to do music videos for every one of those. Weren't able to do it. Got like lyric videos and streaming videos out for them. So.
Mm-hmm. I mean, your guys' YouTube channel is pretty clean, though. Like, it looks... I mean, at least all of your songs have something.
Yeah.
Video or aesthetically that
I couldn't
goes with
release something that didn't.
Yeah. That makes sense.
But, yeah, I guess that's good to hear. But, yeah, we're just trying to make sure we always had something, like, coming out, I guess.
I figured that was intentional, and that's something that I've talked with my old band about a lot, because we only released 2 singles before. We still have some stuff recorded that I don't know what to do with at the moment, but that was kind of like my plan. I was like, why would we put out an EP or a full length and then try to top it later when we can just keep writing songs? Because I felt like every song we write gets a little bit better, and I keep liking it. So I was like, why not just release a song every 2 or 3 months or so?
Right, yeah, exactly.
And every one will just be a little bit better. And, like your fan base or whoever is listening. Yeah. Plus, I feel like the market is kind of headed in that direction anyways.
Exactly,
People don't listen to full albums anymore. They buy singles on iTunes.
Yep.
So,
or share music videos. I mean,
yeah.
It's definitely more of a single-based kind of market now.
Yeah. And that's something that I just noticed in general about you guys, and that I appreciate is I thought that was intentional, the whole releasing singles thing, but it seems like you guys are very well adapted to the social media era.
I mean, we're trying.
Yeah. Because it's hard, man, for bands. Like, it's not like it used to be where you put out an album and everybody buys it on a CD or a tape or whatever, and then you go on tour on that forever. And
man,
then
I wish it was like
till
that.
Yeah, that would be nice.
Back in the day when kind of smaller mid and mid-level bands could make a comfy living actually putting out good music.
Yeah, and then just touring and playing shows. That would be nice. But I feel like you guys have kind of learned to evolve with the times, and it seems like what you're doing is kind of different from a lot of bands. Like, a lot of bands haven't quite caught on yet. Like, I mean, I think part of it is that everybody wants to hold their full length, that could definitely be part of it. But I just like that you guys have that, like, post engagement. Like, you're always on social media, you're always, like, active and doing something. Because I think you're right. Like, in today's age, the worst thing you can do is, like, go silent. Basically, you put out everything to the world and then disappear. Yeah. If you don't, then people they don't have the attention span for it anymore.
It's so weird, because Brett and I will be working on a song and we'll hear an influence or think of an influence from another song, be like, I wonder what that band's doing. You'll look at their page and the last post was like a year ago. You can assume the band's broken up. Whereas back in the day, you didn't hear anything from a band for like a year. It's like, oh, they're probably working on an album.
Yeah.
And now you're like, oh man, those guys aren't making music anymore.
Dude, that's what's so weird though, is that there are some bands still that do everything wrong and they're huge, like brand new. I was literally.
I think it's.
I'm obsessed with that new album, dude.
I've never been huge on them. I liked the new album. I listened through it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd put it up there with like Devil and God probably. I don't know, maybe.
It's like number 2 for me.
Right below it.
Yeah, same.
But I've never been like a worshiper at the cult of Brand New. Like everyone.
I think I definitely got into them late, so I couldn't call myself like a true fan in that sense. But I just think it's weird that they can go 8 years with like hardly doing anything.
I think
and then just drop an album and the hype's just insane. Like there are some bands that
just
can
an
still
anomaly,
pull that
man.
off. Yeah, they are definitely an outlier in that scene in general.
Well, it's any other band doing that would get fucked. I mean that it doesn't make sense. No promo, no singles. Goes to number 1 on Billboard.
They accidentally dropped the album like a day early. Like they screwed up the release. I'm like, it's been 8 years in the making and you can't even nail the release. But it doesn't matter. They're probably still gonna sell like 30,000, 40,000 copies first week. So
it's weird because that wouldn't be a huge number like 10 years ago, you know?
No, but like in that scene though, it is really good.
The cool thing is they're one of the few bands left that has those worshipers. Like they have that cult following that are going to buy the album. Because I feel like there's a ton of bands that could do something similar and would have that many people interested that wouldn't actually buy the album though. Like Brand New fans are a different breed, kind of.
Yeah. I wonder what it is that makes. I guess I wonder if it's possible for a band to have that much of an impact today in like the market being as saturated as it is. Like there's so much music out there.
There really is.
It used to be hard to find good music. Now
too many options.
Now it's like how do I even check out all these local bands when there's so many?
It's crazy.
Yeah. But I feel like that's kind of what I admire about Brand New is their ability to create that sort of like mystery.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah. But nowadays people I feel like authenticity and like transparency is what gets bands noticed nowadays. Like when you can know everything about every member and
it's so like weird.
Interact with them. Yeah, it's like almost the opposite of what it used to be. But I don't know. Maybe the whole world's moving in that way because of social media and
our management
things like that.
Is always like, you need to have your Snapchat on 24/7. You need to be posting Instagram stories every day. Like, let these people into your lives. And
you have to stay engaged.
None of us really do it. I mean, I do on my personal social media. I'm on 24/7, but we haven't started running a band like that yet.
So you guys all run your own accounts and stuff like that still? And
I mean, we have a band Instagram that we're pretty active on. Once I make this announcement for like that we're in the middle of recording our first actual album, I think we're gonna start being a lot more regular with social media posts again.
Yeah.
Like I have a folder of pictures that I'm gonna be making into videos, so Facebook will push them up feeds quicker, and I'm gonna get
all about that algorithm.
Yep. I'm gonna get like a month or two's worth ready and just schedule them so I don't have to worry about it.
That's cool. That's a good idea. Very cool. What was I just about to say? I can't remember what I was just about to say. But so how's the album going? You already started recording then?
Yeah. I mean, we're doing it the same way we've always done it, like recording a single and then moving on to the next song, like perfecting the song as much as we can. We take forever. Except this time, instead of working on a video and then releasing it, we're just recording and stockpiling. So we have, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head, like 4 or 5 songs kind of ready to roll, a few that we've mostly written, about to start tracking, and then a few that are just like sparks in our heads that we haven't actually started putting I guess not pen to paper, mouse to screen yet.
Yeah. So do you think it's gonna be similar to your guys' other stuff? Like, should people expect what they're familiar with, or is it kind of, are you guys branching out a lot, or what would you say?
We're going more. I mean, there's going to be some of our older stuff is going to be on there, revamped just a little bit.
Cool.
So it's not going to be a huge departure, but
it's probably some of your more recent stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
But definitely moving towards a more synth rock sound. Like we've always been, no matter what we do, we've always been about the vocal hooks and melodic hooks in general, whether it's a vocal or a synth, like something memorable.
Yeah, I can sense the pop undertones a little bit.
We love pop music, and we love synth music. And then our drummer's like probably the main bastion of heavy in the band, so he'll make sure we don't stray too far, I guess.
He'll make sure you got the double kick in
exactly,
there.
Exactly. Like we'll, I don't even have to worry about writing double kick in because he will definitely play it there.
Yeah, I could definitely tell, and I like it though because I love the syncopation of whenever the bass guitar and like the kick drum just line up and they give that really punchy sound.
Yeah.
Plus with your guy, like with the synth and like pop stuff, it's definitely it's unique. I like it.
Well, a lot of us are super into this genre called synth wave, or I guess retro wave. There's a few different names for it. It's, I mean, have you seen Stranger Things?
Yes.
You know that kind of soundtrack? Like retro,
I think
80s,
I get the vibe.
Retro 80s synth, like things that could be a soundtrack to a nostalgic 80s movie or an 80s action movie or 80s teen drama. So lots of retro synths, kind of like sparkly noises and bass synths, and we're incorporating a lot more of that into our newer stuff, but with modern production and heavier instruments and pop vocals. So
that's cool.
Yeah,
Very
it's kind
cool.
of hard to explain the direction, but once you hear it, you'd understand it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I like what I've heard so far. I mean, I feel like we have been kind of near each other for a long time because we played that show at the Aftershock together. The
What's
Chunk
it,
No
the
Captain Chunk, Icy Stars
one.
Yeah. And yeah, we played first. I was like probably my least favorite show
Really?
that I've ever played. Like it's the coolest show and probably the most packed, but like we were just super nervous because it was the biggest show we had played yet. And like I broke a guitar string with the first song. It's so frustrating.
That is the worst.
It is the worst thing.
I don't remember that show very well.
Yeah, it was a weird one, but it was fun. I mean, it was really cool. I love Chunk No Captain Chunk. So
they had a fun set.
Yeah,
they were the ones where everyone got on stage and the ceiling started falling down.
Yeah, it was mayhem, dude.
Yeah,
it was
crazy.
Sick. Yeah, and I liked all of the lineup. I was pretty bummed that the White Noise ended up not playing. That
were they supposed to be on that one?
Yeah, they were. But Get Scared played instead, and they were really good too.
I love Get Scared.
Yeah, and Play Royale. That was a good one. Good one in general. And we have like a lot of mutual friends, I think, too. So you know all the guys in Sweet Ascent.
Yeah.
And Zion. And it's weird. I feel like we've been in proximity for years. It's only a matter of time. Yeah.
I'm sure we met at the Icy Star show, but I don't really remember it.
Yeah, just like load in or something like that. But yeah, that was the first time, I think only time actually, I've seen you guys.
Man, I'm sure it was rough. If it was back then.
I think it was a little rushed just because we had like really short set times. Because you guys played second, and like we almost got kicked off stage. So, like, I feel like the whole thing was a little hectic. But
yeah, I love and hate opening when the bigger air quotes touring bands come through, just because. I mean, one, egos, and two, just like being. It's like, man, you guys wouldn't have crowds if it wasn't for these locals slinging tickets. Like, give us a 10-minute at least changeover.
Yeah. They straight up like tried to tell us not to play the last song, and we're like, we're gonna play the last song. Like, can we just play it really fast? So like we literally tried to play it really fast, and it just, oh man, it was weird. That tour manager, that's who it was. The whoever was the tour manager, I think it was Icy Stars. He was just like not happy with the locals. Yeah. And we went a few minutes over on accident, I think, and he was just like, get him off. Like,
yeah, I remember that dude being not so great.
Yeah.
We've encountered a few kind of angry, or I guess I wouldn't say shitty because I guess they're doing their job, but tour managers when opening for.
Unfortunately, that kind of is their job to kind of be the asshole that
they have to look out for the tour package. They don't give a shit about the locals.
It's not their job to care.
But they should care a little more when they're the ones that are packing the venue for them.
Yeah. I totally agree. But, so, obviously that wasn't your guys' best show.
No,
your,
no
your
way.
favorite show. So, like, how often do you guys play?
We don't really play locally a ton.
Yeah,
We
makes sense.
we try to spread it out, just kind of like build hype. And we played 2 shows. The 2 closest in proximity local shows we played one to finish off our tour this spring, was our with a hometown headliner, and then we played Dangle Fest for Brennan Pittman.
I remember seeing that flyer.
Yeah.
That's cool.
We played that like maybe 2 months later or something, and that was kind of a trade-off because the band we were on that spring tour with ended up having to drop almost all the dates, including the Kansas City date, and we had an open slot. And I asked the promoter, Corey, if we could get hazing on it, and had kind of a caveat with Brennan that it would be a show trade. They'd play ours, and we'd play theirs. So, like, cross-promotion.
Cool. So you guys had just got off tour then, like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
How was that?
Man, tour at this level is really rough.
Yeah.
I think it's it's fun, but there's a lot of times when you're just not playing to too many people because we're big enough and prepared enough to go out and do it, but we're not a household name anywhere. I mean, you see these bands like even like the Icy Stars tour where they need locals to be pushing tickets.
Yeah.
And
so
local,
have you guys been getting good locals, or is that kind of tricky to line up?
That's a big part of it. Like promoters and locals, it's the promoters will give us our payment and catering
It's all
and stuff.
honestly, I feel like that.
But
I haven't done a lot of touring, but I feel like that is one of the main like keys to having any good show is like if the locals don't have a poll, you're gonna play to an empty room.
Yep.
It's like really a matter of how hard the locals work, which is why I've always thought it's really cool when you see local bands like around here that are like working their ass off trying to sell tickets.
It's crazy around here. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of it is the locals caring about helping other bands and how much it is them trying to show the promoter what they can do, which I don't blame them. That's the ropes that we walked through as well.
Yeah, definitely.
Like you have to work your way through it, but yeah, it's playing to no one is rough, and that's part of our new game plan is we don't want to do a ton of touring again until we can build enough hype that we can kind of go out there and have locals asking to be on the show versus promoters asking for locals. Like
so,
we want to be bigger before we start doing like 3 or 4 week tours again.
Okay, so are you just gonna like maybe book some shorter runs and like weekend runs?
Yeah,
and
we'll
things
do
like that.
We'll do a few things here and there, but our main focus right now is
the full length.
The full length, and not just releasing a full length, because I don't know if we're going to do that independently or if we're going to be. I mean, we're going to be shopping it and music videos, 2 labels. It'd be great to release it through a label.
That would be cool.
But just in general, we want to be bigger via any means we have that doesn't involve losing a ton of money on the road. And I mean, we run our own studio. I can do videos and design. That's kind of our plan, is like put out some really good music, some really good videos, and promote the hell out of them, and see if we can build a fan base that to tour to instead of trying to tour to build a fan base. Like it's 2017.
That's a little different though.
It's 2017. You shouldn't have to tour to build a fan base. The internet exists.
Yeah, it makes sense. But I also feel like I still hear most bands say, like, you're not going to go anywhere if you're not on the road. You know,
it's true.
That's the only way that musicians will, I guess, make money. Because I guess that, at least
true.
The idea from what I hear is, you know, you go and you play in these towns every couple of months, and
each time
the
you get a bigger show.
Yeah, the first time you played it to an empty room with like 5 to 10 people in it, and then make friends with them, you know, and try to have a lasting impression so that next time you go to that town, they come back and they bring a couple more friends. You know, it just kind of keeps growing from there.
And man, that could be super true, but I feel for a band like us where metal bands don't want to play with us because we're too soft, softer bands because don't want to play with us because we're too heavy, or because we're synth rock and have like EDM influences or pop vocals or whatever reason bands don't mesh with us and their fan bases don't mesh with us. I feel like our sound is marketable and our visuals will be super marketable once we're able to put the time and effort into it that we've wanted to but haven't been able to up until now. So I feel that instead of having to hit the same town 5 times, like, what if we could hit it the first time and there'd be fans there because they've already seen us and know who we are? Like, I'm not saying it will happen. Yeah. But it's not a given that it would happen if we kept on coming back over and over again
that's
either.
definitely true too. And there's no rules, obviously. Exactly. It's all just theory. Yeah. I was just kind of wondering about your thought process on that, just because it's a little bit backwards compared to how a lot of bands plan on doing it or how they're doing it.
I love touring. I love being out there, but I don't like playing to no one,
Yeah, and losing money.
Exactly. Like there'll be shows that make it all worth it, like great shows, but it's always the people that see us love it. And like we've been putting a ton of time and effort into our live show, production wise. I have lights programmed out to the entire show now and everything.
That's
and
cool.
Like,
very cool.
It's cool to watch and hear, and the problem is you have to be there to see it and hear it to know that.
Yeah.
We're trying to think of ways that we can do things on our end using our strengths like video and recording and stuff.
Yeah.
To make sure that we don't get fucked again, basically.
Yeah. Doing what you're best at instead of trying to do it the way everyone else does.
Yeah, it's one of the worst feelings, like kind of relying on other people and not being able to do anything about it. So we're kind of just taking it into our own hands. Like, what can we do on our end to make this better? Yeah.
Well, I feel like you guys are pretty well adapted as far as like visuals and recording quality and things like that. So
we're trying.
Honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if it worked,
I'd like it to work.
Yeah. I mean, I guess there was a time, that bands were blowing up, like Panic at the Disco. They were like a MySpace band at first. So it definitely is like.
I mean, even recently, I hate to use that as an example, but it's the best one, as the I Prevail band.
Oh,
blowing up
the
off
Blank
of
Space band.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel so bad for them.
But it worked.
I don't know if do you listen to Lead Singer Syndrome ever? The Shane Told's podcast.
Oh, I've heard of it, but I haven't checked it out yet.
Yeah, he interviewed the lead singer of I Prevail, and I felt so bad for him because he was talking about that, and they get called the Blank Space Band and all that, and he's like, "Look, man, we just recorded one cover." He's like, "We had a full length before that." He's like, "We just did it for fun, and now everyone labels us as
for
that, like,
fun, whatever." Yeah. That was a perfect marketing strategy.
It was, and it worked.
They poured
though, and
thousands into promotion for that video, and it worked very well.
What's crazy, and honestly, how I think you guys would relate to them is they pretty much had a full crew and production, everything before they even played a show. Like, they didn't just have a band and then like write songs and go on tour like everyone else does. They like straight up got everything prepared, spent a ton of money on like merch and gear, got everything like ready to go.
Do it smart.
And then
the
launched.
First time.
Yeah, and then shortly after that put out that Blank Space video, and then now they're one of the biggest metal bands in the world. So
I feel almost upset that we have been doing what we've been doing instead of doing things super smart the first time, but when you're getting advice from every which person and old band members, old managers and stuff, everyone has a different idea of what it will take to make it when you can kind of look out there and see what is working by yourself.
Yeah, that's true. And honestly, it doesn't really seem like you guys haven't made it. Like you and Brett both have really cool jobs and you're playing music and you're putting out really cool stuff. So, I mean, it seems like if you just keep doing it. Yeah. Then I don't see how it wouldn't.
I mean, worst comes to worst, we've just been able to make a lot of cool videos and music. I mean, but But our goal is to do the band full time, and that's kind of the musical direction we're moving in as well. Something slightly more accessible.
Have you guys utilized Patreon at all?
We have not set up a Patreon.
You should look into that. I don't know if I can prescribe it for anybody, but.
Well, I see it work for a ton of people that do podcasts and for like solo musicians and stuff. I feel
I think the Pentatonics actually, I checked their page the other day. They make like $40,000 a month. I'm pretty sure
they have the Pentatonics have a Patreon.
Yeah, there's a ton of people that you would not believe.
It's like throwing money on the money pile for them.
yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, they're probably making enough off YouTube advertisements.
That is insane.
Yeah, you guys should just look into it. Like, I don't know if it's like the ultimate answer, but the idea is that the people can become a patron and like subscribe to your stuff and pay monthly to like support you putting out the product, or you can choose to where they can pay just buy the product.
I'm part of a Patreon for a podcast called the Beyond Synth podcast. I do like $5 a month or something.
Oh, okay.
So I'm familiar with it. I just didn't
patron.
know. I didn't know the Pentatonics did it. That's crazy.
Yeah. There's a whole bunch of people that do it, but yeah, I don't know. I just think with the way that you guys market yourself and like the way that you've done so much on social media already, it seems like that'd be a pretty good platform for you guys to be able to communicate with your fan base and maybe even grow it a little bit.
That would be cool.
And have some contribution, you know?
Yeah, I haven't really thought about that aspect a ton.
Yeah. I don't know. Just an idea. Thought I'd throw it out there.
I'll look into it.
Yeah. But yeah, we're coming up on near the end, so now's the time for a shameless plug. What is for in the future of Young Medicine, and where can everybody find everything
I guess
you have to offer?
Just keep an eye out for any announcements we make. It'll all be on our Instagram, our Facebook, and everything. We are gonna have several new singles. I know I said we're working on an album, but definitely are gonna test the waters with a few singles from it first. Maybe maybe a cover or two.
Awesome.
May or not be an NSYNC cover as one of them. Who knows?
Heck yeah.
And then
that's gonna be awesome.
So just keep your eyes peeled for music videos, I guess.
Cool.
And new stuff.
And youngmedicine.com, right?
Youngmedicinemusic.com, I think.
Youngmedicinemusic.com. And I also found you guys on Twitter, found you on Facebook, all that.
Facebook's usually our main outlet, that and Instagram. But
Cool. Apple Music, iTunes.
Yep, any
Spotify.
outlet music's available on.
Cool. Well, thanks for coming and recording a podcast with me.
Thanks for having me, dude.
Yeah.
It's been great.
Thanks for sticking around till the end, guys. That was my conversation with Josh Hurst of Young Medicine. Yeah, you guys got to check that band out because they're crazy talented and they're doing a lot of really cool stuff and they're contributing in a huge way. So they're somebody you should even probably get in touch with if you're in a band and just have them do some work for you. If you need graphics or you need recording or you need, I'm sure they can help you out with lots of other stuff too if you just ask. So yeah, hit them up, hit me up on Twitter. I'm on Facebook. Those are kind of the main two. I use Instagram also, but it's Better Ideas 14 at Twitter, and Dakota Scott Pike, Scott with one T, all lowercase, on Twitter, and just Better Ideas Podcast anywhere else. You can contribute monetarily if you want to at patreon.com/betterideas. That's my main platform. I love that website, so I'm kind of pushing for using that as the main platform. That's why it looks the best. That's why it's got all the cool pictures and all that. So that's the link that I tend to share. So you can also just leave a review on iTunes or tell your friends. Honestly, I'm just happy that you're listening. So keep it up, the good work, and you guys have a good week.